o'clock, so welcome. It's Monday, November 13th. It's 4 o'clock. We're in the Carson City Community Center, the Robert Bob Kroll Boardroom, and you're at the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting. Can I get a roll call, Linda?
Mike Jones,
Here.
Bobby Rader, Stacy Giomi. We have a quorum.
Thanks. If I can get everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time, I'll ask for any public comment. Yeah. I'd also like to acknowledge that Kitty McKay has joined the meeting. With that, move on to item 5, approval of the minutes of the September 11th, 2023 CTA board meeting. Would any member of the board see any changes or additions or exclusions of the minutes from September 11th? If not, if I could get a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Would any member of the public like to have any individual item pulled for individual discussion? Any member of the board would like to see any individual item pulled for discussion? If not, I could get a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Chair Jones, before you continue, and this may be me just missing it, did you call for public comment in the beginning? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure. With that, we'll move on to item 9, discussion and possible action regarding possible approval of the CTA fiscal year annual audit report and financial statement. I think we have a guest here online. Do you want to take over?
I was going to let Chris handle this as our wonderful finance person. So go for it, Chris.
So this is our fiscal year 2023 audit report and the financial statements as of June 30th of 2023. We have Nikki Nealon on the line. She is not feeling well, but she's braving it just for us, so we don't have to have a special meeting. So I want to say thank you to her and Adele for all their hard work on this. And I'm going to turn it over to her so she can tell you what it is.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the authority. I appreciate your time today. I apologize. I am not feeling well, so I'm not on video. I hope that you can hear me clearly. Before I get started, I would like to thank both David and Chris for all of the help that they gave us through this audit. Your staff is a joy to work with. They are knowledgeable. They are timely. They answer questions knowledgeably, and they provide us with all of the information that we need in order to prepare a report for you and to provide these financial statements. And so I do appreciate them, and I do want to thank them publicly. The first item I will draw your attention to is the independent auditor's report. It is what is commonly known as an unmodified audit opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that we can give on a set of financial statements. And so you should be proud of your staff for receiving that report. The audit is prepared in accordance with governmental auditing standards, which also requires us to provide you with a report on internal controls and compliance. And that is a report where we are required to report to you if anything comes to our attention that would indicate that the internal controls weren't working effectively. So for example, there were significant deficiencies or material weaknesses or that you were not in compliance with laws and regulations as it pertains to financial reporting. I'm pleased to report that we have no matters to report to the board. So again, that is as good a report as we can provide to you. I will just briefly provide you with a high-level overview of the numbers. So for June 30, 2023, total assets were $3.5 million. That is up from the prior year of $2.97 million. We did have a new standard that was implemented in the current year, that's subscription-based information technology. And so that does actually create additional, actually, let me back up a second. We do have a new standard that was implemented. However, there were no items in your financial statements or in your contracts that would require us to add assets or liabilities to your financial statements. The biggest changes from the prior years are primarily in the areas of cash and cash equivalents, lodging taxes receivable, and then if you recall last year, we did have another new standard, that's GASB 87, which was leased assets. And so your office lease is now put on the books as an asset and a liability. And so that asset was amortized down from 128,000 to 64,000 in the current year. Deferred outflows were increased from 546,000 to 623,000. Those are items over which you as an authority have no control. They're provided to you by Nevada PERS and PEB. And so those are the deferred outflows that pertain to the pension and the other post-employment benefit reporting. Liabilities were up from the prior year, 1.4 million to 1.9 million. On the liability section, again, the largest increase there was with the pensions and the OPEB liability. Everything else is very consistent with the prior year. Deferred inflows decreased from 859,000 to 374,000. Again, you have no control over those. That's OPEB and PERS. And your net position had a healthy increase from 1.2 million to 1.85 million. And so that net position is comprised of three components. The first is invested in capital assets, which is $41,000. Restricted, which is 726,000, and unrestricted, which is 1,084,000. The restricted items are amounts that are held set aside for bond payments in the V&T Railroad. For your statement of activities for the year, operating grants were 134,000. General revenues were 3,000,004. Interest income was 57,000, so that's total revenue of $3,195,000. That's compared to 2,764,000 in the prior year. Expenses are broken down between general government, culture and recreation, administrative services, and capital projects. General government expenses were 641,000. Culture and recreation was 1.16 million. Administrative services, 692,000, and then the capital projects fund, 65,000. For total expenses of 2,558,000, as compared to 2,172,000 in the prior year. So your change in net position, which if you were a business would be your profit or loss, was 636,000 for the year. Are there any questions on the financial statements that I can answer for you?
Any questions from the board? No? It's always nice to get a clean report. Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate your time. I know you're feeling under the weather, and I'm sure the board members are glad you you made it so they didn't have to come next Thursday on Thanksgiving for a special meeting. So again, if there's
Well,
no.
now I'm a little disappointed. Would there have been turkey?
Um, what, anything else? Well, again, thank you for taking the time with us today.
You're very welcome. And again, thank you. We appreciate working with you and we appreciate your staff.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 10.
Would you like a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't forget, we need to make a motion.
Oh,
on this
we need to approve it.
Yes.
I'll do that if you'd like.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority audit report and financial statement for fiscal year 2023 as presented.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Now we can move on to item 10, discussion and possible action regarding approval of the Visit Carson City Marketing Public Relations Plan. I know you're going to take this on, David.
Yeah.
And hit the high-level
Yes.
points, but it's a very comprehensive and strategic plan, and I think it provides a good roadmap for the board for the next 4 years.
That it does. Thank you, Chair Jones. For the record, David Peterson, Executive Director with Visit Carson City. So if the board recalls, in September, we did have this whole table set in front of us filled with KPS3 staff. And at that time, we walked through about a 75 or 77 page presentation. Member Giomi had requested that we look at this from a more long-term perspective, more broad goals over the next 4 years, those goals being measurable, reportable, and sort of falling in line with the contract length for KPS3. So that is exactly what this document is doing, is bringing in those additional years, so second, third, and fourth years, as well as some of the tactical implementation components of the plan. So I'm going to hit the changes, if that's okay, with everybody. Maybe. We'll see if I can get this thing to, there we go. So what I want to do is advance up to slide number 19. And we had this in the original plan, but I just wanted to kind of reorient. This is for fiscal 24, our current fiscal year. These are the different priorities that we have for this fiscal year. Then the next 3 slides, 25, we have the creation of a new pop-up campaign, a new brand activation, developing a new press kit. We continue with our marketing, PR, search engine optimization, paid digital, and our social strategy. And then same thing, website, as you all know, we're constantly updating the website every day of the year. 26, fiscal 26 priorities. This is where we start to get into some development of the website in terms of a redesign, sort of sprucing up the website beyond just content updates is the way that we currently see this shaking out during this 4-year contract with KPS3. We'll continue with some research and visitor analysis. Again, our maintenance of the website, our PR, SEO, those things will continue to move forward in 26. But I think the major highlight is working on the design and some development for a new, I don't want to say it's not a rebuild, but some enhancements, some new functionality, new programming to our visitcarsoncity.com and .biz websites. For fiscal 27, the goal will be to actually launch that new website. We also have a new pop-up campaign and a new brand activation in fiscal 27 as well, continuing with changes to the press kit, and then just the standard elements of what we do on a fiscal year basis. So those are the additional out years in terms of what the plans are. I'd like to advance to slide 37. So this is sort of an overview on the PR end of things, and I'll just read this if that's okay with the chair. Solid Public Relations Strategy delivers a working playbook. It is our guide to understanding the media outlets we're talking to, the influence we want to build and ultimately the actions we want our audiences to take. We'll continue to develop and nurture relationships with journalists, educate the media about Carson City's rich history and cultural ties, and proactively shared stories of the city's past. So this is an overview that we did not have on the document from September, but it's just a friendly reminder. PR is still, on that earned media side of things, a big part of who we are and what we're doing across the board. Then I'm going to advance to slide 40. This is an introduction in the PR section for our familiarization tours. So again, we're trying to secure those relevant media from target markets for our fan visits. Again, we're focusing on our core brand pillars. So we've got our food, history, arts, culture, outdoors, and we're not going to change how we're doing this. We still have our intake process with any journalist, any travel writer, or influencer or blogger. Still go through the same process, but this is a new slide to the presentation, or to this plan, excuse me. And then I want to advance up to slide 49, where we've got the website. So this is, as you recall, 2019, we brought this new website, and I still love the website. I think it's great. But the thought is, coming into fiscal 27, there's a lot of changes that are going on out there in the world of website development, a lot of different technologies. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening right now with AI and ChatGPT, and we want to be able to be thinking about these right now and watching how these technologies play out and incorporate some of them into what will be kind of a refresh or redesign of the website. So again, we start working on the new website in fiscal 26. We'll launch it in fiscal 27. And that personalization piece, I think, is going to be huge. I really like the idea of tailoring, understanding that visitor, especially if they're coming back to the website a second, a third, or fourth time, that website is dynamic enough based on their prior visitation to the website or their engagement with us through newsletters or social media channels. So I think that's going to be really cool elements to the new website as we come toward the end of this 4-year arrangement with KPS3. From a digital media perspective, I'm going to advance to slide 66. Did I go too? Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we've got the audience information in there for Meta. So this is a new element here. So we've got the nostalgia campaign, the remarketing, and then our monthly event carousel. So some of this was not in there before in September because this was more tactical for Lydia, Zach, and then the KPS3 team. The slides 71 to 75. This gets into the specifics of the paid social key performance indicators, and then also the arts and culture information. So I won't read, unless you guys want me to, I won't read through all of these different elements, but this is going to be a part of, what we're doing moving forward from an arts and culture perspective. So we're talking about the large events. We have the Music and Murals Festival. We've got the Mark Twain Days, incorporating that into what we're doing on social. And it's all going to be about engagement and driving that visitation, primarily hotel stays, we hope. Okay, so this is A and C in terms of allocation. This is a little bit more on the demographics on 74 and 75 in terms of audience. I know some of this may or may not change for the second annual, and I'm looking at Eric because I know we might have to tweak some stuff on the steampunk side of things based on feedback from the Nevada State Railroad Museum, but having Eric on board, we'll be able to make those adjustments moving forward. Here's event advertising KPIs now that are included in this full marketing PR plan. And then the last section I just want to touch on is audience information for search campaigns. So we've got the weekend getaways, family trips, trips to Lake Tahoe, historical getaways, and we're primarily focusing on that SAC, Stockton, Modesto DMA, plus Las Vegas, and then the SFO DMA and LA for this particular section. And then coming all the way to the end, we just have a section on the roles and responsibilities. So this was just something I think for the board to see who's the responsible party for each of the different sections. We have the partner that's involved, and whether or not, this came up, I know, in September with sort of the changes to our relationship with KPS3. Is that a new service that they're providing within the context of this current contract versus the prior contract? So this is just that laying out everything. So we've got the primary collaborator, and then is that something new that KPS3 is involved with for us? And this just continues on. So with that, those are the highlights. Those are the new elements, new components with those 25, 26, 27 fiscal years included. I'm happy to answer any questions, if there are any, on those additions.
Board Member Giomi?
Thank you. No comment on the additions. Just my thanks for doing that. I think this is something that this board should approve in total. And then, you know, I like the fact that we made it an actual plan in the out years. The only thing I'd like to have you add, and I think it'll be easy, is a glossary. We all tend to know what FAM is and what initials are, but there are people in the public who don't know what those things mean. And it would be a simple enough thing. I'm thinking of you. It's a simple enough thing to just add that, you know, to the back, even KPS3, because it looks like
That
it's not
means
clear
something.
that it's a business, you know.
Right.
So that would be my only suggestion. I think it's a solid plan, and I like that everything's measurable, and the assumption is you'll present an update annually on progress, correct, and whatever
That's
changes
the
you're
plan.
going to make.
Yeah, so I think we'll continue. I realize having Lydia out, my updates might be a little different, not as detailed because she's is so much in the weeds, but we'll still report on a monthly basis so we can measure progress during the course of the fiscal year. And then I like the idea, upon completion of the fiscal year, give us probably July, August to finalize, kind of wrap everything up. And then I think early fall, we can provide sort of like I'm going to do for the Arts and Culture Strategic Plan. Here's what happened during the fiscal year,
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's
from
great.
our
Yeah.
perspective. So yeah, a glossary to identify the acronyms and what they mean, I think is a great suggestion. So excellent. I've noted that. So thank you.
All I had.
Any other questions from the board? None. If I could get a motion to approve the fiscal year 24 through 27 marketing and public relations plan.
I'll move to approve that document as presented with the addition of the glossary of acronyms as discussed on the record.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. That moves us on to item 11, presentation and discussion regarding the Carson City Visitors Profile 21 through 22. David?
Thank you, Chair Jones. Dave Peterson again for the record. I wanted to include this in here for you guys so you could see what our calendar year 21-22 domestic visitor profile looks like. I'm not going to read through all of the statistics. I know there was a little bit of a delay that had to do with some contract situations, I guess, with Travel Nevada and their respective vendors. But I thought this kind of lays out, you know, what a visitor to Carson City, a domestic visitor, looks like. The sample size on this is 150. Statistically, it does take 2 calendar years worth of data in order to have a statistically significant sample size, which would be equal to or greater than 100 to run a profile of this nature. So, you know, you're looking at average non-gaming gaming trip expenditures. That's on a per travel party of just under $1,100. We're looking at it just under 3 people in terms of travel party size, and then length of trip 2.1 nights. And obviously that's one of our goals is to work steadily to increase that to get us closer to 3 nights in terms of an overnight trip. But it's great information. We're coming out of the pandemic still with the 2021 data in here. The profile that was calendar 20 and 21 was a bit different, to say the least, and that's because of the sample and the calendar years that sample was made up from. So I like where we're going. I think by the time we get a 22, 23 profile, it'll be more in line with our current visitors. It won't have that sort of pandemic impact, I guess, on the profile itself. So I did want to point out one thing in terms of our MSAs, and that's question 11. What are the top 5 metropolitan areas of origin? This did shift from our 2021 profile, and to see LA now pop up. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's coming up now. Pop up to number 2. It's ahead of SAC and San Francisco. I thought that was quite interesting, and we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what happens when we run the 22-23 profile. So it was something interesting for me, at least, to see that. So this just gets into the specifics of modes of travel, where these folks are staying. So still, the casino, hotel, motel, and non-casino are 75%, of the stays, which makes sense in terms of our lodging. And I think we've bumped up a little bit in terms of diversity of visitors. I know they're small percentages, but we're up, a percentage point or 2 for some of the non-Caucasian relative to the prior 2-year visitor profile. So I'm happy to see that as well. We're attracting folks from different backgrounds to Carson City, and I'm really pleased to see that. And then our LGBTQ plus also was up relative to the prior 2-year. I don't quote me, I had the number in my head and what that percentage of increase was, but at least we're seeing positive percentage increases. So that's just some highlights on a visitor profile perspective for Carson City. My plan next month is to walk the board through the 2022 calendar year direct visitor spending, economic impact analysis, what tourism looked like for last calendar year. So that data was released about a week ago. So I didn't have time, unfortunately, to cram that onto the agenda this month. But I'm going to walk all of you through that, because I think there's some really great numbers in there, and tourism was up significantly from 21 to 22. So are there any questions on the visitor profile?
Not a question, but on the age breakdown, I was surprised that it skewed. I would have expected it to skew older, but the highest rate is 25 to 34.
And I want to say that is a reflection of our marketing efforts to attract the millennials, whether those are individual couples or families. So I do like to see that we're seeing that increase in the younger demographics. Chair Jones, I think that's great. I think the world of Carson City. So to know that we've got younger people coming in to Carson City, that's exactly what we're going for from a marketing and a PR sales with the events, and obviously arts and culture. So I thought that was great to see that spread in terms of the different age ranges.
Questions for David on the visitor profile? And with that, we'll move on to item 12, non-action items for presentation and discussion only. David?
Thank you, Chair Jones. We'll go ahead and move on to 12A, Executive Director's Update. So I know the question on all of your minds, has Lydia finally had a baby? The answer is yes. Last week, she had a little baby girl, Hallie. So finally, 17 days late. I don't know if she's okay with me pointing that out on the record, but that is a true statement. So yes, pictures are forthcoming, but only as Lydia allows. Second quick thing, V&T Commission update. This Thursday, we have our partner and media night. We'll have the trains running at 5, 6:30, and 8 p.m. So hoping if anybody wants to get up there, let me know if you haven't already responded to some of the email invitations that have gone out the door. And we go public Friday. It's our first real runs, sold out. Quite amazing. I think about a month ago, there might have been 20 odd individual one-seaters left. So that's adding a fourth car. So the demand is there. I think we could have went to 6, 7, 8 cars, and we would have sold out. So I'm very happy with how that went. Next agenda, or next item, excuse me, with Member Kem's resignation at the beginning of the month, the city, and I want to thank Rachel Evanson for getting the recruitment out so quickly, like literally the next day, for the second hotel motel member spot. That will close on December 1st. And whether or not we can get on the second meeting, talking with Member Giome, we may not be able to just because it's a full agenda. So possibly the first meeting of the Board of Supervisors in January for those applicants to come and do their interviews. And then I want to just congratulate Bobby and the Stewart Indian School Cultural Center Museum. They did an amazing job at the Lilly Museum on the University of Nevada, Reno campus with the Stewart Traveling Exhibition reception last Thursday. It was like, blew me away. Just an amazing space. Stephen, again, Deborah's husband, was fabricating the little clips and all that stuff to put everything up on the walls. It was amazing. It was full, and I think it's a great opportunity to expose people to Stewart with the hope of getting them to come down to Carson City and actually visiting the Cultural Center Museum. So great job, Bobby. Any questions on this one? All right. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to 12B, transient occupancy tax actual versus forecast. That's the big sheet in your packets. As you can see, August, and I know we didn't have an October meeting, so August we came in at 7.7 ahead of budget, a little under 5.6 ahead of the prior fiscal. September, I've made some adjustments in here with Chris's guidance in terms of the collections as they were coming in, and we look to be setting another monthly record where we'll come in just under 10% ahead of budget, about 7.5% ahead of the prior fiscal year, month over month. So we haven't changed any of the outbound numbers, but I know in talking with certain properties, October looks to be an incredible month as well. So we're just doing really well, you know, from a overnight stay, from a RevPAR, ADR, you name it, perspective as far as the TOT is concerned. So I'm very, very pleased to see the continued growth month over month. But obviously, you know, we don't know what's going to happen next calendar year. So just trying to still be keeping our eye on the ball right as we go into next calendar year in the second half of this fiscal year. But that's where things stand with it's still blue September, just for the record, only because a couple properties still waiting on final numbers. So that's still in a projected forecasted blue color there. Are there any questions on the room tax report or TOT report? Okay. With that, let's move on to 12C, Arts and Culture Update. Well, the big news is this man sitting in front of us, Mr. Eric Brooks, is our brand new Arts and Culture Program Manager. I couldn't be happier to have Eric on board. I know Kitty's been looking at his name and wondering why it's so big compared to my name or Stu's name. That's because he's the man. He's the arts and culture man. So Eric, if you want to tell the board a little bit about yourself, take it away.
I'm very happy to be here and to meet some of you for the first time, and I've worked with some of you before. And yeah, the show at the Lily was fabulous, Bobby. And I want to think of a way where we can have that be able to travel to more of the state to get that story out and bring people up to see your whole center. I'm Eric Brooks. I've been in the general area for almost 11 years. I came to Reno for an arts project out of Scotland. I was working with a Scottish group, incredibly creative group called The Forest. And I was with them since 2003 in some aspect, but was able to move there for 2 years in 2011 and 2012. And at our height, we had a 10,000 square foot 16th century church. We had all our programming be free and available to the public, which included 2 music venues, a recording studio. We had a printing press. We had a tool rental. We did haircuts. We did music lessons. We had one party a year called The Happening, where everyone did their own thing and no one knew what was going to happen. But we always had thousands of people show up for that event, and it was absolutely fabulous. So after there, coming to Reno for a similar project, it was great to be in a town that appreciated the arts and culture and was ready to really blow up in the arts, which it did. And 2013, I was with that. It was called the Valley Arts Research Facility. It lasted for about a year, and we lost the building through some technical difficulties. But I was able to start working with the Sierra Arts Foundation. I started there as a volunteer and then moved up into helping with the gallery installations. I also ran the 2 galleries and was artist in residence in Scotland, and started an arts co-op in San Francisco in 2001. So Sierra Arts Foundation has been my home in many ways, and their current executive director started off as my intern. So I like to think that I'm a great at pulling people up the chain and pushing them up and above to better things, and we still have a great relationship. Spike McGuire, the new director at the Brewery Arts Center, we've worked together and been great friends since 2004 when we started partnering on his fundraising efforts for Loud as Folk and the art walk that I had just started in Reno. So Spike encouraged me to come help revamp the gallery system at Brewery Arts Center a few months ago, which has been a great privilege. And then we put on another mural festival, which most of you know about. And that was a tremendous success. And working with that team was such a good experience. It made me want to reach out and apply for this position, which I'm very thankful and grateful for. We have some really exciting things already in the works that Brewery Arts Center was working on that will easily transfer over into a partnership with Visit Carson City. And I'm delighted and excited to bring big things along with this team to Carson City and its community.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? I don't want to preclude anybody from asking Eric anything. He's going to come back at the December meeting, and we'll talk through the Murals and Music Festival and do a recap at that meeting. So that'll be his first full report to the board. So looking forward to that, and he's kicking around some really cool ideas as well that I'm excited to share down the road here. So with that, I want to use the arts and culture presentation to recap last fiscal year. And so this was something that you all asked to be included on my review as an objective for this, well, calendar year in terms of the way I guess my review works. And so what we've done here is to use the template of the city's arts and culture strategic plan, and we're just calling this sort of a implementation monitoring. And this is what the CTA was involved with during last fiscal year. So I won't read everything, just some of the highlights in terms of the strat objective: create cultural facilities and public spaces that enable a wide range of cultural activities and events. So we worked with the different cultural resources to create some mapping on visitcarsoncity.com. In addition, obviously, Bobby, you're directly tied into the second one with the work that was done for the Stewart exhibitions, not only at the Reno Tahoe International Airport. That was in November, and they extended that, if I recall, an extra month, I believe. And then that also led into the Truckee Community Center, which was July. Hopefully we have that right, July through September. I know that's beyond the fiscal year, but one exhibition led to another. And of course, we just talked about the one that's at the Lilly Museum. So I'm excited about that. In terms of Brewery Arts Center, some conversations there, plans about a permanent stage to the outdoor campus. So some fundraising efforts were underway, and also working there with BAC, which I think is a super partner of Visit Carson Cities, for different cultural events and festivals. And we'll have some more to come probably maybe at the December and January meetings about that. The second overall strat objective is to introduce a broad spectrum of cultural events, programs, events, destinations, and arts initiatives that showcase Carson City's unique culture and talent. So the beauty of it, I should have pointed out, is the third column from the right. That talks about the different organizations, right, or groups that we're working with, whether it's the city, cultural organizations, local artists, as you see. Before we had Brewery Arts Center, of course, and then in Stewart. So I always keep an eye on that to see, are we engaging with artists? Are we engaging with artisans? Are we working with heritage organizations and cultural organizations? And I like the mix that you see in here. So a lot of this has to do with everything that took place with Mark Twain Days, an inaugural brand new event back in April. super excited to see that come back around for a second annual, which we've shifted to the Mother's Day weekend in May, and we'll coordinate with the V&T and all that good stuff on that end of things. The other thing that was underway as well, more to come at the December meeting, but the 3D cultural program, cultural corridor program. We actually just had our first community event meeting get together last week, over 100 people. I was so happy to see that many people came out from Virginia City, Astoria County, but Virginia City, Douglas County, and Carson City. So that was underway. The bulk of this work is done this fiscal year, so you'll see more reporting on it when we come to close out fiscal 24. And then the cultural assets map again pops up underneath this particular objective as well. And again, all that is based around the creative economy and building that out, building those organizations out, and who is all involved in the creative economy. Again, we talked about the traveling exhibition, and the corridor again permeates that. Fostering effective arts administration or arts administrative structures and organizations. So here, Mark Twain falls underneath that. Again, working with different collaborators, partners, businesses. I think it exposed us to some new folks. I'm sure if Deborah were here, she would probably say that we were able to meet some new partners in the community, and we want to expand those relationships. 3D is also in here as well, and getting to know these other cultural organizations just over our county lines. Number 4, continue cultural planning, monitoring of the arts and culture strategic plan. Well, it's basically what we're doing here, and it's just sort of recapping when it was prepared, when it was adopted. I'll come down to number 5, encourage culturally appropriate arts and cultural opportunities events. So here we're talking again about the Stewart Indian School showcasing at the airport, and then of course Truckee, now in Reno at UNR. Go down one more to 6. This is great here. So this is incorporate culture and municipal planning, decision-making, placemaking to improve quality of life. So we have the new mural by Jamie Vincic. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, but that went on to the south wall of the Nevada State Museum. So that was a wonderful new piece of public art. And then number 7, encourage effective marketing and promotional tools for the cultural organizations to reach visitors and residents. So again, we have the database mapping. Here we talk about what we're doing with the museum. So we have Lay Day, Dia de los Muertos, and then the Mark Twain Days Festival. So that's a very quick recap of our contributions, implementation of the city's arts and culture strategic plan for fiscal 23. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. Yes.
I just want to make sure we're keeping up on the map. Like all of the murals would have been added, I assume, or will be added in due course.
Yeah, so, and you're welcome to jump in. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like, and we haven't discussed any of this yet, so in going through the website and looking at the way that the map's laid out, I'd like to enhance that experience by breaking it out into different areas so there would be multiple maps that people could look at. I think the way it is now, there's so much to see and so much to do, it's a little bit hard to navigate. We do have the mural map updated, and that will be on the mural map page, I believe. And then work through where someone can say just dining or just attractions with antiques and be able to narrow down that search a little bit more instead of having it all be on that one map.
Yeah, I think that's good, as long as I mean, there's a lot of work put into the map, and I'm all for improving it. I want to see the map continue, so that it's, whether you have a list of choices down the side and you can sort of select a layer as to what you want to see. It sounds like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Stacy, we do need to change that so it integrates better into the website, because it was sticking out like a sore thumb. So we temporarily removed it because we did have some issues with the GIS piece of this, right? Since that's a third-party piece of software. So I do want to work with Eric on that. part of the goal for this fiscal year is to enhance the arts and culture section of our website. And anything that we can do along those lines, again, I'm going to look to Eric to lead the discussion in terms of how we should lay that out. And I love the idea of you can click on all murals or sculptures or whatever the case may be to kind of tailor that experience. That's also something with the 3D Cultural Corridor project where we're trying to sync the destinations, the communities together. As we have a shot at $2 million in EDA funding through Travel Nevada, that's something that we're talking about as the core steering committee as well, is pulling all of these different public pieces of art, these assets together, and whether or not it's a branded site and we can link to get, link off from our own respective sites, but a one-stop shop for the visitor to make it easier for them. Because why limit them to just looking at the murals in Carson City when they could go up and look at things in Virginia City or down in the Carson Valley area? So we've been talking about that as well, and how best to, and Eric now will be on that steering committee, and Bobby is a member of that as well. So I think we have some really cool opportunities ahead of us, and knowing that we'll have some funding, hopefully, fingers crossed, as a result of the, I don't want to call it a grant application, but I guess for lack of a better term, the grant application process that we'll go through, that we definitely can enhance not only our site, but our peer sites as well, and maybe even create some, a really cool cultural arts, history, heritage oriented website that works for visitors, but it works equally as well for residents of the communities too. Because one thing I've been finding as we go through this process is people may know things in their own community, in their own backyard, but they don't know about different pieces of art 25, 30 minutes away, from where they live. So, but yes, I like where you're going with that. So yeah, lovely. Are there any other questions? Is the board comfortable with the format, the layout? So I'm trying to follow along with how the document itself was presented and approved by the Board of Supervisors, so that look and feel, okay, good, all right, lovely. All right, with that, let's move on to 12D, Events and Sales Update. Mr. Wexler, take it away.
For the record, Stu Wexler, Business Carson City, Sales and Events. I'm just going to recap the last couple of months since we didn't have a meeting last month and just go over some of what we've had here in Carson City. Back in Labor Day, we had the Jemez Women's Tournament. It was a women's only. It was one of the bigger events in this area and throughout the country. It was a little tapered by some of the weather we had during that time where we did have a lot of rain. But they are working on having the only rapier tournament in the country for women. Would be here in Carson City, and it is the largest tournament in the U.S. women's broadsword tournament in the world. It will work up to that. So we are looking at that. We did have about 30 fencers from out of state, and not including spectators, and with about 20 judges and volunteers out of state. Mostly they are from the California area, which is one of our biggest feeder cities, states for this area anyway. And
pronounce that first word there, Stu?
what's that?
You want to pronounce that first word for us?
No, that's why I avoided it. I was going to let David say that since.
I'm not the events and sales guy.
Well,
Fraud.
That's why it's little Stu Wexler, not big Stu. So you could pronounce it, I guess
Wow.
we'd increase the
Wow.
size of the.
Of the nameplate? Wow, Stu.
Yeah, the nameplate.
Yeah.
Well, I've been called that anyway.
Frauffrecht? Is that it? You think? It's not
Fraufrecht.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fraufect.
The coordinator told me what it was called, but I can't remember.
I assume it's Frau for female, right?
Yeah, right, and I'll get the pronunciation and let you know what it is.
Thanks.
But they did have about 100 spectators over Labor Day weekend, the majority coming on Saturday. We did have downpour that kind of tampered, according to the coordinator, of who came in for that weekend. It was a three-day contest tournament. Next year, we are moving it because we are going to have the primary elections here in Carson City. So the community center, the gym is all going to be used for that, plus on secured lockdown as well. So because I did have some other tournaments looking to come in that weekend, but according to Parks and Rec, won't be able to let that happen. So yeah, it would probably be the May 18th and 19th due to the elections. So, and like I said, mostly Californians come to this event. We did get some as far away as Georgia. So we are seeing some cross-country folks coming in from the area. So aside from the pronunciation, any questions?
You know, I just put for effect into a Google search, and the first 5 or 6 entries all mention Carson City. So it's pretty cool. Although I don't know how someone would just accidentally enter that word. But if
Well,
you
that
happen to accidentally enter that word,
And that's
it's all
from
about Carson City.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's
good
from
job.
the coordinator, Michael
Yeah,
Forrest,
yeah, that's great.
who's working on that. So any other questions on that? If you haven't seen that, try to see it. It's pretty amazing to watch the training that they do, the teaching that they do before the tournament starts. And they are using, I mean, real equipment, real swords. I mean, obviously all padded up, but it's a pretty cool event. So if any of you ever have a chance, I would definitely try to attend. And then we had the Silver State Art Festival, which is the Gorge Festival. We have that, every year. This one is becoming bigger. They had about 2,500 visitors over the 2-day period, and they raised $7,500, which is they were able to match it and give about $15,000 to the Nevada Humane Society. So David and I attended. It was a pretty nice event. They have artists from all over the area, from California, Arizona, that is presenting all their artwork. It's really nice. And from what I could tell from some of the surveys I received, approximately about 25% of what I have so far was the first time visit to Carson City. So the Silver State Art Festival keeps getting more exposure the longer it goes. And then about 50% spent 2 nights in town, and 75% stayed in a hotel, motel, while 25 either got a VRBO or stayed at someone's house. Any questions? And then we have this fabulous kennel club. So that's been here for quite a while. We had it at Fuji Park. According to Candy Roper, who organizes it, because of the weather, and there was another event, a bigger event in Colorado, we did see about 100 less pets come in this year. But we were out there, and according to the survey that the American Kennel Club does for Candy, you can see that the distance in miles, 50 miles is about 25%, 100 miles, you have 11%, 200 miles, you had 9%, and about 4% came over 300 miles away, which is really, really fantastic considering that there are other kennel events, American Kennel Club, going on throughout the country. We were able to watch some of the events. Stacy was out there, and it was pretty amazing to see these pets and how they're trained and what they go through for judging. And so the total number of dogs over the 2 days was 665, according to Candy. And they, like I said, they were down. There was another show in Colorado, which kind of lessened who attended here in our area. And then you got to see who did this great job of presenting the award. Any questions? And then early October, right after the Kennel Club, we had the Ford Bronco Super Celebration, which was the first time it was held here in Carson City. And if you didn't get to go, you missed it. It was really fantastic. We had about 161 participants. Saturday, they had over 500 guests. They were exhibition Broncos throughout Sealy Point, which is the part towards Carson High School of Mills Park. And they had about 30 vendors that were here from all parts of California, Oregon, and Nevada itself. We even had a couple people that we were familiar with. One that came from Pennsylvania, drove all the way out here. One came from Virginia with a little, Airstream or one-man tent.
Yeah, it was a cool custom.
Yeah, pulled across country and stayed here. So, and so we did adventure rides to Prison Hill. People did spread out throughout and kind of found their own trails. We would like to see next year, we have to change the dates from what it is because of the farmers market extended their stay through the summer. So we're going to make it a week later. But they're looking at about 250 vehicles next year. If you want to show the clip, this is Prison Hill. When David and I were up there, they were getting ready to go out on the trails. It was pretty amazing to see all these Broncos. We weren't able to get the pictures of them on the trails, but I don't know if Zach did. Zach might have. We'll have some pictures after he gets to be able to edit everything.
I thought the coolest thing was when 20-something Broncos were all airing their tires down. That was something else.
Right, yeah.
They had all these compressor things or whatever that were airing the tires down. That was cool. That was neat.
Yeah, so there was positive feedback. We had a lot of locals come out, especially on Saturday, as they were coming out telling the coordinators about all these different trails they could take, showing them where they could go. Thursday night, we're at Capitol Ford. They cleared out part of their parking lot so they can get like 50 to 60 Broncos from the show. And they were at Capitol Ford. It was with the food truck, and it was there. We were there for a few hours. And everyone was just having a great time. They really enjoyed it. So, any questions? And this was also the first ever NICA race, Nevada International Scholastic Athletic. And there were 300 riders from local regions, mostly, Carson, Reno, which Carson City team placed second, I believe. So they're really a good team. We did have some teams from Ely, Mammoth, Bishop. And so being the first event ever, it was just a one-day event. There was about 1,500 spectators that came through. I mean, it was amazing. And they started off different tiers, starting events, so it was amazing. Everyone loved it. And Nikki Peterson, who put all this together, she works for them. She worked with all the sponsors, worked with us, and the WNC, which is where this was held at. And they went along WNC trails, Parks and Rec, and some of BLM trails. So it was pretty amazing. And then next year, what we're doing, we're going to expand the race to make it a 2-day race. So it'll be a race the first day, for the schools and the teams. The next day, we're going to have it to where the students are going to be racing their parents on the same track on a Sunday. So we think that will bring a lot of attention. People will really are looking forward to that as well. So, and you want to show that. This is the start of one tier of the race when I was there. Don't mind my turning, I'm not like Zach, so. But we had some young students to the older students, the teenagers, and different parts, different grades, from sophomore to seniors. So, and it's really an amazing event, and I think with expanding it to 2 days, it will even be that more exciting for everyone. And that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Stu? Great, well done. Yeah, 3 brand-new events in the span of 3 or 4 weeks for Carson City, so very diverse, different, well, they're different events, and I like where we're going, so I think it's all good, working against our special event tourism strategy to bring these events here.
I would want to add that we are seeing a lot of interest of people, group coordinators holding events in Carson City. This area is becoming very popular for our outside activities, the trails, just what we have to offer, the location where we are. Everyone just finds it the perfect spot and the perfect area to hold these type of events outdoors. So it's exciting.
Thank you, sir. With that, we will move on to 12E, Marketing and PR Update. So I'm going to do my best Lydia Beck impersonation here for the next 60 to 90 minutes to give us a couple months' worth of updates on marketing and PR. And this is for you, Kitty. How much? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 7 minutes? Wow, okay. All right. So in terms of what we're going to cover here quickly, web and paid digital media, newsletters, and public relations. So again, this is for the past couple of months. I'm not going to read you all the stats. I'll just hit some highlights here. Website visitation was up 36%, so excited to see that. We did launch the Travel Spike campaign that I know Lydia has previously talked about. That brought in 2,500 folks to the website. A little bit of a drop on the paid digital ads, and we're looking into that. We're looking at some of the functionality on the website right now, specifically with the itineraries section of the website and how we're not necessarily converting those folks over to become referrals to the hotels. So this is something we're working on right now to make some course corrections on the functionality of the website to help drive those folks who are coming in to look at itineraries to the hotel pages. So I just gave some direction on some changes to that particular section of our website earlier today to KPS 3. So
This is not because Lydia's out.
no, I know, no, I hope that's not the case. Because then that'd be a reflection on me. No, my goal is to show increases when we get here next month. Technically, Lydia was still here in October, so if anything, this is Lydia's fault. So I'm hoping the November numbers will be up since taking this over from her. So why are
David?
we all laughing?
Oh, it's really not funny. Do you know what our total newsletter volume is, or how many
The
folks?
subscriber
Yeah,
ship?
subscriber
Oh
count.
my gosh, off the top of my head, it's 9,000 to 10,000 people in the overall database. And it was larger, but we did some cleanup for folks that were not opening, responding, things of that nature. It used to be up in the 13,000, 14,000 range, but it was affecting our open rates, click-through rates, those sorts of things. And so we went through a process of cleansing the database. So I will make sure that I send that out after this meeting with the exact count, but I think it's in that plus or minus 9,000 to 10,000 range.
And do we look at open and click through here too?
Yes.
Great, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm
no.
ahead of the game.
So the short answer is yes, and I may be ahead of myself on that end of things. But yes, we do, and we tweak those newsletters as well. So let me catch up with this particular slide. Okay, McKay, Member McKay, if that's okay. Okay, perfect. So paid social, again, little bit of a decrease. We did have some different events, right, heading into November, a little drop. The huge increases were September because of the murals and music festival. So that was quite a boon to the September numbers. And then let me get to my notes here. So in terms of new signups, I'm just going to touch on a couple of things. If you guys want me to go back, I'm happy to go back. 380% increase, you know, in the signups. That's month over month. We had 48, only 10 in September. Again, that's some of the new meta campaigns that we launched as well during the month of October. A little bit of an increase as well in the downloads and requests for the visitor guide. Referrals, this is where I mentioned, you know, things do, we had to pay, the prior strategy, we really did rely on branded searches, and you're capturing locals there potentially, or people who have already decided to stay in Carson City. So this is a strategy where we're kind of going to change this up a little bit, and we want to get at people who haven't selected Carson City as a destination. The idea is to hopefully they're in that consideration set, or we are in their consideration set, to convert those folks into coming to Carson, staying overnight, or it may even be people visiting, you know, Lake Tahoe as well, and hopefully working on picking off some of those stays, just because I think we're definitely a more value-conscious destination for those folks. The other thing that I wanted to, I kind of mentioned them on the itineraries. We are going to work on this call to action. So we're actually doing some landing page. I should have started with that, I guess, earlier. Some A/B testing on landing page design and development to see what actually produces a higher call to action. In other words, a greater conversion for us. We're also going to be updating the plan your trip page and the itineraries, as I mentioned. And when we integrate in the booking engine, we're making some adjustments and changes to the website to account for that particular piece of software and that platform as well as we move forward. So Member McKay will go ahead to the newsletters. So this is a couple of examples of the newsletters that went out during this time frame. So we're doing well. We had a newsletter in September and October. And then also we always do a Nevada Day, a special newsletter that week of. So here, I was close, 8,818. So forgive me, just a little bit below 9,000. That may also be, Member McKay, because we're continually cleansing the database, right? So if we have certain folks that are, I don't know if it's 5 non-opens or things of that nature, we sort of roll them off the database, right? So 8,800, we saw 3,944 folks open the email, and then 1,299 people after reading the email came through to the website. So we do pretty well when you look at some of these open and click-through rates. They're all, you know, up there in terms of a curated database for newsletters. So that was September. Here's October. So we had the Fall Adventure Awaits and a jam-packed season of events. The beauty here is we're still incorporating some of the new video, or I shouldn't say video, but the images from our photo shoots, video shoots. 8864 received the October, and 3,564, 895 clicks through to the website of those folks that read the newsletter. Here's the Nevada Day newsletter. So this was 8877. It was sent out to 3047 opened, the email, and those who read it, 362 clicks through. You'll see some fall off here as well. I think obviously Nevada Day appeals to Nevadans, right? And we have such a varied database. It may not be something that's for the full audience, right? But we still like to share it out because I think Nevada Day is such an incredible weekend. The idea of getting folks to come in and enjoy the celebrations from outside of Nevada is wonderful. You know, if we can get folks to come in and do that. So,
David, are you sure those numbers are right? Because the percentages on click rate and unsubscribers are exactly the same for all three. It seems unlikely that that would be exactly the same for September, October, and the Nevada Day one. Literally exactly the same.
Oh, you're right. Oh, so, okay, so the first column is for that particular newsletter. The next two, though, those are average campaign performance and then peer average performance. So those are sort of industry standards or benchmarks. So our overall average
I got you.
remained the
Okay.
same, yeah. And then obviously in terms of a benchmark, unless there's some substantive change as we report on this on a monthly basis, that's not going to change too much. The one that should be changing is our open rate relative to sort of our aggregate average. And then the last one is a benchmark or a
Yeah,
standard.
I got
So,
you. I
yeah,
see that now.
yeah,
Thank you.
I see what you're talking about. Yeah, the last two,
But
and if
we've
they
been-
were to change, it might be.
We've been outperforming the average.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, we
Yeah.
do outperform the average.
Okay. Thanks.
And that's from a tourism perspective too. So from quick public relations, highlights there. Those are some of we had a Diablo magazine, an Arizona Parenting magazine. Obviously Murals and Music, again, covers the lion's share of this. Diablo was great because that brought the Nevada State Prison again to the forefront as something you can go do the tour. We also have the Carson City Ghost Walk was in there as well. And I think that's it. So I would be happy to entertain any questions if there are any from a marketing perspective. Again, I'm going to do my best to keep everybody informed on things, but I'm going to keep it more high level so I know what I'm talking about and don't confuse the heck out of all of you for the next couple of months.
So you're confirming we need Lydia back?
That's exactly what I'm confirming.
Okay.
Sooner than later, if you're listening, Lydia. All right, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and move on to 12F, future agenda items. Is there anything that any of you would like to see on the December agenda? Okay, not hearing anything. 12G, upcoming meetings. Our next one, right here, same building, Monday, December 11th, 4 p.m. And with that, I will turn it back over to Chair Jones.
Thank you, David. We'll move on to item 13, board comments or announcements, requests for information. Bobby?
Bobby Rader for the record. I just want to, again, mention the Stewart Traveling exhibit that Visit Carson City has helped co-sponsor, along with Nevada State Museum, the Nevada Indian Commission, and our museum. Just thank again everybody here for helping to co-sponsor that exhibit. It's been a really great experience for us to get the word out about Stewart to lots of different venues. And this is the third venue at the Lilly Museum of Art at the University of Nevada. It will be there from November 9th through the 30th. And this is part of Native American Heritage Month, which is the month of November. So there are also lots of other activities at UNR right now in response to the Native American Heritage Month. So if anybody would like to check out the agenda for all the different activities, and hope you get a chance to see the exhibit at the Lilly. And thank you, David, for coming to the reception. Appreciate it.
Yeah, just wanted to report at our last Board of Supervisors meeting, we took one more step down the path of issuing bonds for Centennial Park. It was a public hearing, mandatory. Is a lot of steps in the bonding process. It takes 6-ish months. So I think the report from our finance director was, late January, early February to issue bonds, somewhere in that area. So I'll keep you posted.
Chair, may I just add to something if you don't mind? Stacy, Chris and I were on a call with all those wonderful folks. We do have to bring it to the January meeting. There's another element to this. So just for Kitty being new, there is going to be another I can't even say I remember exactly what the specifics are of that, but basically I think it allowed, or we're in agreement that we're pledging the money to put forward to the bond, what Member Giomi was talking about, but we do have to bring something back at the January meeting for CTA, so look forward to that.
And item 14, public comment. Any member of the public like to speak? We have,
Just a quickie, at the meeting, the Cultural Commission meeting this afternoon, they recommended one of the 3 projects for approval, and it's gorgeous.
thank you.
For the roundabout? Is that for the roundabout?
For the roundabout.
Okay, thanks.
Hello
sir.
and welcome. I really appreciate the fact that I was able to get to this meeting. The way that y'all work together and the camaraderie, but the business end of it, congratulations on your audit. That's something that you should be pleased with. And I'd just like to say that I had an opportunity to get to the visitor center, and I met Linda, and she was very helpful. I was able to get the Carson magazines for each of the seasons pretty much, and I really enjoyed the magazine, but I also enjoyed just the wall as you step in and the quotes and some of those things there. But as a person that hasn't really explored Carson City as much as I should have or could have, I have my little routes and I get my little thing going. But as I walked today, I saw individuals out doing a mural hunt, and they didn't have a great map, and they were asking me where the donut shop was, but I didn't remember it having been a mural on that. Well, it wasn't. I directed them to a place that didn't happen to have a mural, but it was a donut shop.
If I could interrupt you 1 second, if you could state your name for the record.
I'm sorry. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you, Chair. But I just really thank you all for your efforts, and I made notes, and I hope this next year I will participate in getting out to the dog show, get to the bike race, and other things that I've put off because of other reasons. But thank you and welcome, and just thank you.
Any other public comment? With that, we'll move on to item 15, possible action to adjourn. If I could get a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. We're adjourned.